Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable members, no nation can truly be free when organised criminals capture and control the state and the economy at the expense of hard-working, law-abiding citizens. No nation can truly prosper and unlock opportunities for all of its citizens when they live in fear, held captive by violent criminals who face little to no consequences for their criminal actions. And no nation can be at peace with itself when 56 people are brutally murdered and 105 people are violently raped every single day. You promised to halve violent crime in your term of office, but the truth, Mr. President, is that we are a nation at war. This is a war between the law-abiding constitutionalists who believe in the rule of law on the one hand and the criminal populists who would see the very institutions designed to uphold the rule of law burnt to the ground. This is a war you cannot win, Mr. President, while your minister is masquerading as a police commissioner. Mr. President, the panel of experts report into the violent unrest which took place in July last year confirms what most South Africans have known for a very long time, and that is that there is a crisis within the South African Police Service and that your minister and your National Police Commissioner are at its centre. Leadership instability, corruption and political interference are deeply embedded in the senior management culture at SAPS, leading to low morale and low conviction rates. At the heart of the report's findings into SAPS is the collapse of crime intelligence. Among the myriad of issues facing this division, stretching back to the dark days of Richard Mdluli, is the fact that in the build-up to the July unrest, your minister refused in December 2020, perhaps it was the 10th of December 2020, we're not sure, to approve the Secret Service budget, only signing off on the Secret Service budget weeks after the violent unrest broke out in KZN and in Gauteng. Meanwhile, the National Police Commissioner has been playing musical chairs with former Head of Crime Intelligence, General Jacobs, who was suspended and then brought back and then appointed to the head of the Police Inspectorate, far removed from the intelligence environment in which he is an expert. The report had the following to say about crime intelligence, and I quote, "There are good officers in this section in the police who are dedicated to their work, but they are frustrated by the instability at the top, including that introduced into police structures by the instability within the ruling party." End quote. The conclusion is clear. The ANC is directly responsible for the crisis within the South African Police Service and can therefore not be tasked with the responsibility to restore its credibility. Mr. President, if, however, you are indeed serious about rooting out the rot within the South African Police Service, I suggest you start at the festering wound that is the Central Firearms Registry. The assassination of Colonel Charles Kinnear, the release on parole of Colonel Christian Prinsloo, the removal of General Vieri and the suspicious redeployment of General Jacobs all have one thing in common: the criminal gun-running syndicate at the Central Firearms Registry. This is where you will find your smoking gun, Mr. President. This is the nexus of criminality and corruption within the SAPS, and this is what requires your immediate attention. While there have been some long, very long overdue improvements in the DNA forensics environment in relation to contract management and procurement of consumables, you are 100% wrong about the DNA backlog, Mr. President. The real DNA backlog remains far, far higher than the 58,000 case exhibits which you stood here and celebrated last week. Your figure only refers to the historical DNA backlog which was ring-fenced in March 2021, while every day since that date, the new case exhibits have been accumulating at the labs, with the total backlog estimated to remain well over 200,000 case exhibits. In your speech, you promised 12,000 additional SAPS personnel, but continuous baseline reductions to the SAPS compensation budget makes this a pipe dream. The fact, Mr. President, is that since 2016 there has been a net reduction of more than 11,000 personnel, and SAPS is required to continue reducing personnel from 175,000 this financial year to 162,000 by 2024. 10 years ago, there were more than 200,000 SAPS personnel. Whichever way you look at it, Mr. President, the net result is less boots on the ground, not more. Mr. President, the leadership instability at the very top of SAPS needs your decisive action, not delayed tactics. While you have become trapped in a game of bad cop with the National Commissioner and the Minister, thousands of hard-working and dedicated good cops are suffering under the top-heavy SAPS management of generals and brigadiers, many of whom have been appointed way beyond their capability. Your commitment to make leadership changes within the SAPS is welcomed. But, Mr. President, what is wrong? You are the only one who has the power to remove the Minister and the National Police Commissioner. It is time to act. You have the power to fire them. It is time for bold new solutions to overhaul the SAPS with extreme urgency. The top-heavy centralized policing structure has proven to not be effective. It is time to explore how provinces and local governments can play a more active role in keeping our communities safe. The top-down model of policing in South Africa is broken, and more needs to be done to empower our local communities, local law enforcement and Metro Police to keep our communities safe. We can move SAPS into the 21st century, Mr. President, by introducing modern, cutting-edge training for our police officers, especially our detectives. By signing the nearly 10-year-old draft agreement between the FBI and SAPS to make use of their CODIS software to take our national DNA database to the next level. And by introducing a targeted program to recruit specialist skills from amongst the many former experienced police officers to bolster our priority crimes investigations. There is an abundance of solutions, Mr. President. You need look no further than the DA's Blue Book, of which you are familiar. But implementation begins and ends with leadership. It begins and it ends with you. The battle lines have been drawn in South Africa, and this year, Mr. President, the constitutionalists among us need to rise up together and fight to defend the rule of law against the criminal populists who seek to undermine it. You simply cannot build consensus with criminals, Mr. President. It's time to pick a side.
Thank you. I now invite Honorable Letsie